Welcome back, folks, to our continual coverage of The Long Walk. I am your host, Bobby Thompson, and we hope you enjoyed the latest station break brought to you by everyone's favorite ice-cold treat makers, Dairy Queen. And I bet those boys on the highway would love to have a double-dip cone right about now. It is 1:45 p.m., well past lunchtime, and most of the lads have long ago devoured their snacks from their ration belt. As you know, the last few hours have been devoid of punched tickets, and you can tell that the crowd is getting anxious. But these remaining walkers have gained a second, or perhaps I should say a third wind. All of them look very strong right now as they continue to plod on towards Augusta at that unrelenting pace of 4 miles per hour. Of course, there are a few telltale signs that one or two of these competitors won't see another sunrise. Not to jinx him, but number 97 lost one of his sneakers a long time ago. And sometime last night, we believe he tripped over something that ripped off his big toenail. That's gotta hurt. And so walking with an open wound like that is never good for you. Then there's number 63, Montag. His fever is burning up. There's a lot of speculation that the same virus that debilitated the late Edwin Scram has infected Desmond Montag, as well as several other walkers who have been coughing up phlegm all morning and afternoon. But there are many walkers still full of energy, even whimsy. There's one young man who has gone unnoticed by this broadcaster until just recently. I'm speaking of Kevin Johnson, the nondescript fellow in the gray hoodie. A while ago, about the same time rations had been delivered, he began to kick a can down the road. And now it's become his pet project. Folks, as you can guess, every year there are an assortment of can kickers. Normally it passes the time for a few minutes, even a half hour, and then the walker loses interest. But Kevin Johnson is approaching the 5-hour mark of his can-kicking pastime. And we've got Pastor and Pearson. They are cracking each other up with bad knock-knock jokes. And it's this levity that's made both of them become fan favorites. And then we've got another twosome, Abraham and Baker, number 2 and number 3. They've become the leaders of this little cohort that has about a dozen lads, all of which have developed a strong bond with one another. Hopefully, the bond between these two won't break, as they've been playing a contentious game, and the normally good-natured Abraham keeps losing with every flip. But I say it's better to lose a coin toss than the long walk itself. And it looks like Abraham's pals aren't the only ones who have formed a clique. You may recall early on in this competition, we noticed the disproportionate number of walkers with the last name that starts with a letter F. Well, now they've embraced the moniker of the F Troop. And there's quite a few of them that have joined ranks with one another. The de facto leader appears to be Boston resident Jerry Fernhill, number 15. And then there's the son of Idaho potato farmers, Charlie Field. That's number 23. And then we have number 29 and number 33, Luke Fields and Sean Fields. And tagging along is Kyle Foster, number 37. And then walking at a slight distance behind them is number 40, Xavier Foster. He's got a running nose, and it seems he doesn't want the contagion to spread, which is very courteous of him. According to my notes, none of these lads are related, but their alphabetical proximity is enough to turn these strangers into brothers as they continue to march southwest toward the border of New Hampshire. And up ahead, all by himself leading the procession, is the lonely Joseph Motega. As I'm sure you remember, his brother's ticket was punched earlier today. But number 65 presses onward, as serene as ever. And this is in spite of the efforts of number 78, Quince, who is walking a few feet behind Motega. Quince is making whooping sounds and doing what appears to be a mockery of a rain dance. Well, save your wind, Quince. I don't think your heckling is working. Oh, but further back, something is happening near Abraham's group. Number 47, Raymond Garrity, is crying out in pain, grabbing at his leg. Looks like it's a classic Charlie horse, and it is slowing him down so much he has received warning number 2. He's stumbling. The group is leaving him behind, saying some brief farewells. And our crowd, the spectators, they have a mixed reaction, both worried and excited. They want to see a punch ticket. It has been a while. But they also want to see Maine's own triumph. They don't want to see Garrity go out like this. More of Garrity's peers wave goodbye and walk onward. Even his on-again, off-again protector, McVrise, is leaving Garrity behind. The fans are cheering words of encouragement, basically begging the lad to keep going. But there is a soldier dismounting the half-track now, moving next to Garrity, who has earned his 3rd warning, folks. And now, despite the crowd's pleading to keep moving, the hometown favorite is lying on the ground, ladies and gentlemen. It looks like Raymond Garrity, number 47, Maine's own, is calling it a day. The members of the F Troop are passing him by, offering looks of disdain. And last, but certainly not least, the current favorite, number 88, Stebbins, bringing up the rear. He looks down and perhaps says something. I think he's saying goodbye or good luck to Garrity. The clock is ticking. Garrity's looking up at the sky and about to give in. No. Oh, he's getting back up. This has just got to be just seconds before a punch ticket. Yes, Garrity has bounced back up. He has seen death, and he does not like the look of it, and now he has burst into a run, folks. Just a few seconds away from that punch ticket, and now he's got to work off that 3rd warning. He's got to maintain this brutal pace for an hour, and if he falls behind again, just by a few seconds, he will be doomed. But the crowd definitely believes in him. They are cheering. You know, if this wasn't a death sport, I would say that Garrity is just plain teasing his fans. Number 47 now moving into a speed walk. He's catching up with McVrise. McVrise seems to be pleased that his companion is still alive, and now the two of them are speed walking past the Motega brother, and now McVrise and Garrity are the 2-man vanguard of this procession. And of course, number 47 is not the only one walking on his 3rd strike. Number 97, Wyman, has been limping along, and he seems to keep falling below the pace. Every time he works off that 3rd warning, he stumbles, falls behind, and is back in that final warning zone, a place you do not want to be. And number 53, Huang, is also walking on a 3rd warning. He is sneezing non-stop. This is that flu that was going around. A little bit of scram left over. This poor kid, there's lots of mucus, puffy eyes. He can't always see where he's going. Right now, he just bumped into Collie Parker, number 72, who uses some very colorful language, startling the poor boy back on track. And he continues to walk. Yet another competitor hoping to work off a final warning. And this is a surprise. Joe Motega, the wind knocked out of his sails with the loss of his brother, he has earned his very first warning, folks. Now, anyone else, I would say that would not be considered a big deal, but this definitely shows signs of rust in this young man's armor. Now, here's a pair that we've never mentioned before, but they've become a rather chummy twosome since this morning. We have number 19, Festus, a resident from Delaware, and the son of immigrant parents who hail from the tyrannical island of England. And then we have number 18, Mr. Fessler, who hails from the rainy city of Seattle. Now, as we mentioned, it is funny how alphabetical proximity can be all one needs to form a bond here on the asphalt. Out of curiosity, I'm watching these two through my binoculars to see if I can sort of comprehend what they're chatting about, and if my lip reading is correct, I believe they're talking about books. In particular, I think they're debating about The Lord of the Rings, arguing which one of them would be Sam and which one of them would be Frodo. And it looks like the other members of the F Troop are inviting them to join their ranks. Maybe they'll get a little book club going. Oh, and another astonishing moment, folks. Number 65, Joe Motega, has received a second warning. He is walking so slowly now. Abraham and some of the others are passing him by. The vanguard of old has languished, ladies and gentlemen, and he is not picking up the pace. Soldiers are hopping off the half-track to keep a closer eye on him as they deliver a third warning for Motega. It is hard to read the expression on his face. It is still just as stony as ever. So I don't know if this slowdown is due to grief or exhaustion, indifference, a combination of all three. But now it is a third warning. He is picking up the pace a little bit, trying to reach that goal of 4 miles an hour or more. And now, with these various final warnings in play, who will be the next punched ticket? And in spite of the gravity of this situation, there are still walkers who are able to find levity. Johnson is still kicking his can, and number 86, Sledge, has gathered together 3 pieces of trash, and he is attempting to juggle them. But the endeavor does not last long, and now the good-natured teen is basically laughing at himself and... Oh, what's that? What? Oh, I am being handed a note, and... Are we sure about this? All right, well, best to address this right now. Folks, you know our program is dedicated to bringing you the most accurate coverage of the long walk. We work as a team, we accept praise as a team, and we also accept criticism and consequences as a team. So it's with collective humility and disappointment that I admit to you, we made a mistake. During our first 24 hours of coverage, we reported that the walker named Douglas Snover was number 86. But unfortunately, one of our interns tasked with listing the walkers got that number wrong. Snover was actually number 87. I say was because his ticket was punched during the first night of the competition. We apologize for that mistake and any confusion, and as you may or may not know, as per instructions of the major, if our news team makes 3 mistakes during the long walk broadcast, our entire staff, myself included, will be sent to the squads. But rest assured, we won't make another error again. We are a dedicated group here at the station, and we hope to continue as a team for many more years to come. That said, I am obligated to inform you that if you do notice any errors in the past or future of our broadcast, please notify our station. But, as I said, I am sure that won't happen. Oh my stars, that was a punch ticket for number 65, Joseph Motega, brother of Michael, shot through the neck, but Motega still alive right now. He does nothing to stop the bleeding. Arms at his side, blank expression, falls to the knees, crumbles really, then face first onto the pavement, and with that, the Motega brothers are a memory. Wow. I did not think the likes of Huang or even Garrity would be able to outwalk this noble member of the Hopi tribe. But I guess that's why I leave the gambling to the experts. You know, every year the long walk surprises me. It seems there's only one thing you can count on, and that's a commercial interruption. We'll be back in a moment, after a word from our sponsors. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, this summer we invite you to experience the wonder, the thrills, and the chills of Joyland, the best and brightest little theme park on the Carolina coast. Take a ride on Thunderbolt, a legendary roller coaster made in the good old days before safety regulations ruined all the fun. Then scarf down some funnel cakes and get back in line for more fun on the Scrambler. But hold on to your lunch because there's even more fun of the spooky variety in the Horror House. Sure, it looks scary, kids, but don't worry. Nobody's been murdered in here since the late 1960s. At the end of the day, share a hot dog with Howie the Happy Hound, who happens to know the Heimlich, just in case your eyes are bigger than your stomach. It's all part of that classic Joyland experience. So pack up the car, bring the family, and make some memories that will last a lifetime, maybe even longer, at Joyland. Welcome back, folks. You may have noticed during our commercial we maintained coverage in the left-hand corner so you could keep track of the latest developments. Number 40, Xavier Foster, has been having a seizure. His fellow members of the F Troop stayed as long as they could without taking a warning, but then they bid him farewell, leaving him to the care of two very watchful soldiers as the fallen lad makes gurgling, gobbling sounds. A punch ticket for the unfortunate Xavier. There were originally 7 walkers with the last name Foster in this competition, and now there is only one foster child remaining, so to speak. Number 37, he is from Kentucky, no relation to the others. But I'm being told that whether or not Kyle survives this competition, his family has just won a year's supply of fried chicken, courtesy of one of our sponsors, Foster Farms Chicken. Just one of the many ways this event and its sponsors support our community. Keep on walking, Kyle, and maybe, just maybe, you can enjoy a drumstick with your brothers and sisters. Uh-oh, looks like someone lost control of their little doggy. There's a 4-legged rascal on the asphalt, dragging his leash behind him. The crowd is laughing at just how much this little pooch wants to join the procession. Look at him, he's chasing his tail, going round in circles. You know, it's a good thing you're not actually in this competition, little guy, because you would be given your first warning. Oh, and now he's trotting towards number 74, Pearson, who is welcoming this lovable mutt. Oh my God. As I'm sure you've already guessed, ladies and gentlemen, because of the rules, the dog has been shot. To his credit, Mr. Pearson is furious, but he continues to walk. This just breaks my heart. I don't know who among the crowd is responsible for that dog getting loose, but there's a boy is stepping forward. You're too late, son. A soldier shoves the boy off, pushing him back, and frankly, the boy is lucky that he didn't get anything worse from them. The other walkers are steering around the remains of the dog. I'm sorry, folks. I just need a moment. Do we know the name of the dog? We should find that out. And folks, I know it is just a dog, but unlike these young men, this dog didn't sign up for any of this. These boys, on the other hand, they wrote an essay. They filled out the forms. They took the physicals. They wanted to be here. But that dog... Well, I digress. The walk continues, and so does our coverage. Number 61, McVry's, and number 47, Garrity, are still leading the way, speed walking. It looks like number 61 has been giving the hometown favorite a little pep talk, helping him work off that third warning. You know, there's been a lot of speculation as to why Peter McVry's continues to play the role of guardian angel. As we've mentioned before, McVry's used to work at a pajama factory along with his girlfriend, and during what must have been a rather contentious argument, his girlfriend attacked him and gave him that scar. McVry's would not be the first teenager to join the walk due to a broken heart. Some Cupid-struck fools enter this competition as a declaration of love, and some enter just to end it all and forget the pain of a spoiled romance. By the way, McVry's almost didn't join us in the first place. He was originally selected as an alternate, but as luck would have it, enough prime walkers dropped out of the final day. And now McVry's is part of history. Let's hope for his sake that Garrity will return the favor if it comes down to it. And speaking of guardian angels, or should I say fallen ones, number 46 has been walking alongside the soldiers at the half-track, which is perhaps the most dangerous place you can be. Gallant seems calm, but very exhausted, and he's trying to ask the soldiers a question. He's just getting the silent treatment, of course, but he doesn't seem to be begging or pleading with them. Let me get the binoculars and see what I can pick up. Oh, I'm definitely making out the words organ donor. Over and over again, organ donor. I think he's asking if the walkers who receive a punch ticket can donate their organs. Well, that would be a worthy cause, Mr. Gallant. But the answer is no. The bodies are bagged, put into a box, and shipped to their parents, along with a generous gift certificate to be redeemed at participating funeral homes. Kevin Johnson, number 57, for those of you who are wondering, is still kicking his can. And each time he does, the spectators cheer. Number 97, Wyman, has kicked off his other shoe, taking a second warning as he does so. But he does a good deed by handing his shoe over to a nice little old lady in the crowd. Wow, that is a souvenir, folks. Oh, well, now this is disappointing. The other spectators are fighting over the shoe, and poor old grandma is being trampled. There aren't any police in the crowd right now, and the soldiers on the half-track, it is not their job to do crowd maintenance, so they just pass the calamity by. It is now 4 o'clock. The ranks of the F Troop are growing. They've summoned number 43, Everett Frost, one of the more standoffish walkers in this competition. When explaining why he wished to join the long walk, Frost said on his application that, quote, "No one in my school likes me, so why the heck not?" Why the heck not indeed, Mr. Frost? And now the F Troop is inviting you in. They are now a marching cluster of 9 boys. We've got Luke and Sean Fields. They are the last of the original 8 Fields that we had at the beginning of this competition. Now, I wonder if our sponsor, Mrs. Fields, will be donating some cookies to the final Fields family. We'll have to stay tuned to find out. Number 44, Fulton, is also part of this now hopeful band of walkers, the F Troop, who perhaps naively believe that there is safety in numbers. You may remember a while back that Fulton did an accidental barrel roll, a somersault. Well, the fans are loving his gymnastic skills, and every once in a while he indulges them with a cartwheel. That stamina is pretty amazing, folks, when you consider how long they've been keeping up this non-stop pace. And Fulton's energy levels have made some of the other walkers downright miserable. Just now, when number 62, Philip Milligan, witnessed the most recent cartwheel, he burst into tears. Because here Milligan is just staggering along, holding onto his side, dealing with stomach cramps, and yet Fulton still has a hop, skip, and a jump to his stride. That has got to be disheartening. But not disheartening for the fellow members of the F Troop, who cheer him on. By the way, there is still one solo walker whose last name is an F word. George Fielder, number 24. He's one of the more cruel competitors. The other boys don't want him around, and number 24 doesn't seem to care about their rejection. And here's another soloist who's been keeping to himself, number 52, Bill Huff. He brought along several different comic books in a plastic bag to protect them from the rain, and it looks like right now he is studying the pages of Superman. Hopefully that'll inspire Mr. Huff to become a man of steel as this ordeal continues. We are approaching the 6 o'clock hour, and there are some interesting catcalls that have been coming from the sidelines. It seems that our sour-faced Eagle Scout, Harold Quince, number 78, has a quartet of groupies. These girls have been running along the sidelines, weaving in and out of the other spectators, calling Quince things like handsome and gorgeous, declaring that they want to have his baby. It's definitely a boost to his ego because Quince is now reclaiming the lead of the procession as a one-man vanguard. McVrise and Garrity, the warnings worked off now, they edge back towards Abraham's group. Number 5, Barkovich, gives McVrise a dirty look, even spits on the ground, which is just a waste of hydration as far as I'm concerned. And number 61, McVrise, he doesn't even bat an eye. Number 84, Ronald Saunders, has started to slap himself in the head, sort of rhythmically. I'm not sure if this is for motivation or maybe just to keep himself awake as the sun sets behind the hills, or maybe he's having some sort of a conniption. But those slaps just seem to get harder and harder. The poor kid is going to knock himself out if he doesn't stop. Number 46, Jamie Gallant, is on his third warning now. He's very weary, but he seems more concerned about Saunders than himself. He is asking the very brotherly question, "Why are you hitting yourself?" And Gallant tries talking to Saunders. There's no response. Number 46 taps on Saunders' shoulder, and Saunders shoves Gallant hard, and that earns Saunders a penalty warning from the soldiers. You can't get that aggressive. Gallant kept his balance, but looks like he sprained his ankle. And now he is even slower than before. Saunders has stopped slapping himself, though, and he sprints ahead, leaving Gallant behind. I'm not sure why number 46 was so interested in helping the young man to begin with. Like McVrise, Gallant has been a mystery to me. And Gallant will remain a mystery. His ticket punched. But I will say this about number 46. Throughout the competition, Mr. Gallant lived up to his namesake. Well, except when he shoved away Fritz, I forgot about that. But most of the time, he was a pretty good guy. That gunshot did not seem to disturb the others. Pastor, Baker, and several others are listening to Abraham as he pleasantly holds court. It's getting almost too dark to see that soda can, but Johnson is still kicking it. Maybe he'll become a soccer star if he makes it to the end of this. A lot of boys have found ways to pass the time, a little mental distraction to help endure the physical stress. Number 76, Greg Plum, brought his yo-yo along with him, and I recall noticing him playing with it on the first day. And to be frank, he wasn't very good. But now, as he walks underneath the sodium lights, you can see him do the rock the baby, around the world, and walk the dog. Speaking of which, we learned the name of the little dog who gave its life this afternoon. Her name was Daisy. And look what our graphics team came up with as a loving tribute. I'd like to think that Daisy's owners would be proud if they could see this image. But I understand that they've been sent to the squad, so they probably can't. The spectators are now groaning. Why? Oh, it seems George Fielder has crushed the soda can, the one Mr. Johnson had been kicking for a very long time. Johnson is crestfallen, to say the least, and the crowd is booing Fielder. And number 5, Barkovich, is laughing at the chaos, and now the crowd is booing him. Oh, but number 57, Johnson, he picks up the flattened can, waves to the crowd, and tosses it like a frisbee. And a cheerful onlooker catches it and dashes off with a souvenir before he can get trampled like that poor old grandma. And with the cacophony of boos and cheers, let's go to a commercial break. Are you tired of your Pinto puttering out on you?
Come to Castle Rock.
Or maybe your Volkswagen Bug doesn't have that get up and go like it did in the old days.
Come to Castle Rock.
Or just maybe that Cadillac of yours hit the world's biggest pothole.
Come to Castle Rock.
Then isn't it time that you head on down to Castle Rock Used Cars and Trucks? With deals so good, we can barely keep these vehicles in the lot. If you want a car that won't let you down, then we have a deal for you. A 1958 Plymouth Fury in cherry condition. We call her Christine, and she will transform you from a geek to a god of love. Once you're behind the wheel of this sweet ride, you will kiss your nerdiness goodbye. Christine will even clear up your acne. Best of all, your car's extended warranty will never expire. All the repairs are complimentary. Just make sure nothing comes between you and Christine, and she's yours forever. And we do mean forever. So take Mrs. Todd's shortcut to beat the traffic and come on down to Castle Rock Used Cars and Trucks. Hurry on down and find the car of your dreams before it finds you. We are now upon the outskirts of Augusta. You might remember that name from grade school, back when state capitals were a thing. This was the place where all the state senators would gather and make bills that would turn into laws. But fortunately, we've evolved as a society, and we now have the major to cut through all of the red tape. Even at a distance, you can hear the dull roar of the crowd. You can see the spotlights. The enthusiasm of the masses is palpable. Fessler and Festus, the Samwise and Frodo of F Troop, are intimidated as they walk down the hill, holding on to each other's sleeves, frightened as if they are about to step into Mordor. And there is something fiendish about this crowd. The folks that line the streets seem less festive than Old Town, and more bloodthirsty. It reminds me of ancient Rome. No, these people aren't wearing togas, but it's easy to imagine these citizens cheering on gladiators. And why not? Isn't that why the Major created this competition? So that a hero may rise? Ah, the Major! Right on cue. What a demigod! Long may he guide us. The crowd is cheering. The walkers are cheering. And you can bet number 83 Sackett is cheering the loudest. You may recall his essay consisted of a simple repetition of I love yous, dedicated to the magnificent leader, the Major. Many of the boys seem stunned, not just by our fearless leader and his troops, but by the size of the crowds. They can barely be held back. But the lads needn't worry. The soldiers won't let anyone touch them on pain of death. Speaking of which, number 62, Milligan, he is not cheering, he is screaming, he's stumbling, he's already walking on 2 warnings. The expression on his face looks like he's experiencing the ultimate migraine. He's dropping to his knees, and the crowd is going wild at the sight of this. All of Augusta is hoping to witness a punch ticket, and they might get their chance. Number 64, hands at his temples. and it's hard to hear over the crowd, but a third warning has been announced. The other boys are passing him by. Some are running as though they're afraid that Milligan is going to explode. And still, Milligan screams. And now it is the crowd who screams. There is an ecstasy when one bears witness to history, and Milligan is now a part of the history books. Of course, some might say he's just another statistic, but not to these Long Walk fans that are here in Maine. They are enraptured by this boy's sacrifice, and 36 walkers remain. Klingerman, number 59, better watch where he is going. Oh, he trips over Milligan's corpse, and the audience roars with laughter, and he's a little hurt too. His palms are bloodied. But he still waves to the crowd and then trots off, hoping to leave that embarrassing moment behind him and to work off that first warning that he earned. We haven't paid too much attention to Mr. Klingerman. He's one of the solo walkers who hasn't made any bonds with his fellow competitors, and we'll see if that strategy pays off. The boys continue their journey down Main Street. You know, folks, it is really strange not having the Mottega brothers lead the way. Instead, we have number 78, Harold Quince, marching through town. The crowd is really energizing him, so much so he's goose-stepping. What a show-off. He's probably hoping that his female admirers are watching somewhere in the crowd. Number 72, Mr. Friday Night, Collie Parker, maintains his usual feistiness. He is presenting the middle finger to the citizens of Augusta, calling them pigs, and the fans seem to love it. Sorry, Collie. No matter how much you hate us, we're still going to love you. Nearby Parker, Garrity and McVrise seem to be arguing about something. Number 47 looks upset. McVrise has a smirk on his face. Not sure why Garrity would be so angry with his guardian angel, but he is, and McVrise drifts away. Is it another spat, or is their friendship over? And as we leave Augusta behind, the F Troop loosens up a bit. They were hunkered together during the frenzy of the big city, and now they shift into pairs and trios. And it looks like number 15, Fernhill, is congratulating them, delivering pats on the back all around to the F-troopers, except for George Fielder, of course, who is near the back of the procession, just in front of Stebbins, number 88. Perhaps Fielder is calculating his next little scheme to make life a little more miserable for his fellow walkers. As we edge back into the suburbs and the New England countryside, there are still adoring spectators, but not nearly as many, so it feels like there's some room to breathe now. Number 74, Pearson, does not look like his jovial self. And his glum expression, that might not just be the exhaustion. It might be the fact that his last shoe has fallen apart. So he is kicking it off right now. And so, like Marty Wyman, Pearson, number 74, is walking in his socks, and that cannot be comfortable. But number 2, Abraham, he's got sturdy shoes, regular clodhoppers, and though they might be heavy, I bet they could last all the way to Florida. I don't believe we've mentioned this before about Abraham, but he wrote something rather incorrigible on his essay. Answering the question, why do you feel qualified to participate in the long walk, he said, because I am one useless SOB, and the world would be better off without me, unless I happen to win and get rich, in which case I would buy a Van Gogh to put in every room in my mansion. I love the confidence, and I, for one, hope that you get your wish, Mr. Abraham. Reach for the stars on this starry, starry night. The yo-yos and comic books, the chatter, the pastimes and camaraderie are subsiding now as darkness sets in. We have about 30 miles until we reach the next town, Lewiston, Maine. And I spy America's least favorite walker, the boy who has now become a subject of jeers and insults from the crowd, is none other than number 5, Barkovich. The fans don't want him to win, the bookies don't want him to win, and the walkers do not want him to win. And the group hate might finally be taking its toll. Barkovich is now walking with a limp on 2 warnings. In his essay, he claimed that he would dance on the graves of every competitor. But it won't be easy for him to tango over tombstones with that stiff leg of his. McVries has maintained a long-standing grudge, but now he seems disinterested in Barkovich's plight, as though he knows number 5 is no longer worthy of being his rival. But several others still take up the cause, throwing insults and threats his way whenever he comes near. Number 78, Quince, is one of the more vocal critics of Barkovich, even though to me they seem like kindred spirits. Both of them have this mean streak. The main difference? Well, if you ask these girls, yes, the groupies have returned to the sidelines. The difference is one boy is handsome and the other is ugly. At least that's what they're shouting to number 78 and number 5. Don't worry, Barkovich. If you can win the ultimate prize, I'm sure you can find yourself a girlfriend. Maybe. Garrity is now approaching Barkovich. And he startles the little bully, and well, that is a 3rd warning for Barkovich. Well, we might see his ticket get punched this very evening, folks. I'm not sure if number 47 is trying to encourage or to intimidate Barkovich, but it looks like number 5 is defiant now. He's trying to return to his old snarling self in spite of that limp. Further back in the F section, we've got more warnings. It seems that number 18 and 19 have received a 3rd warning. Festus looks about half dead. He's not taking another step, at least not by himself, but Fessler is letting him lean against him, begging him to keep going. Right now they're both stopped in the middle of the road. The other F troopers are urging them to continue, but 19 is not going anywhere. I think he's fainted. His eyes are rolling to the back of his head. Number 18 better leave him behind, but he does not. Fessler summons all of his strength, and he lifts number 19 into his arms, and folks, he is walking. He's carrying number 19, walking, but can he reach the required 4 miles per hour in time? And if so, how long can Fessler carry him? Surely not all the way to New Hampshire. He's reached 3.1 miles per hour. He's only got a few seconds to get to... Now he's at 3.5. 3.7. Oh, he couldn't do it. And that is 2 punch tickets simultaneously. Number 18 and 19 are out of the competition as they die in a heap, tangled in each other's arms. And it is 9:45. Members of the F Troop press onward, but you can hear their sobs in the night. Little Sean Field seems to be crying the loudest, and number 15 reminds them that they all need to trod onward. It is so interesting how some leaders just naturally emerge on the walk. Number 81, Radigan, tries to snatch some leftover rations from the late Mr. Fessler, but he takes too long, earns himself a warning, and he keeps moving, gives up empty-handed this time. What a scrounger. Back to Barkovich. Now Abraham and his group are taking turns hurling insults. Parker, of course, joins in the fray. And get this, number 5, Barkovich is, believe it or not, he is crying like a frightened little toddler. The tough guy facade has melted away, and he continues to cry, and his tears encourage others to taunt him all the more. Quince, number 78, drops back a bit from his usual position, earning a warning just so he can lob a few insults as well. But these verbal assaults are not settling well with everyone. Garrity moves away. Looks like he wants to reconnect with McVry's. And number 55, Jackson, appears to be too good-natured to involve himself with this type of bullying. He moves away as well. So, will Gary Barkovich defy his detractors? Will he work off that third warning and prove everyone wrong? Or will there soon be 35 walkers dancing on his grave? Ladies and gentlemen, to find out the answer, you'll have to keep that television dial locked in place as we take a station break before returning to The Long Walk. I'm Bobby Thompson, but before we depart, allow me to once again thank our viewing audience, especially those who have decided to become members. This channel would be nothing if it weren't for compassionate people like you. The staff here thanks you, and I'm sure if those walkers down below had the energy, they would thank you as well. So don't touch that dial, folks, because as sure as there are 31 days in April, there is certainly much more to come during our broadcast of The Long Walk.